Black Torch caught my attention because it looks like more than another stylish supernatural fight series. The appeal is in the contrast between a rough street-level hero and the strangely intimate bond he has with animals. The story has a simple surface. A young man is pulled into a hidden world of spirits, but what makes it interesting is the possibility that his compassion, not just his strength, becomes the thing that separates him from ordinary fighters. If the series uses its cat spirit element well, the supernatural side can feel personal instead of decorative. That matters, because a power that grows out of a relationship usually lands harder than a power that only exists to look cool. The urban setting also gives the show a different flavor. Instead of a faraway fantasy kingdom, the danger can feel like it is hiding in alleys, rooftops, side streets, and places people pass every day without noticing anything. The main question is whether the anime can make Mononoke feel like a real part of the world. If spirits only appear as enemies, the idea becomes familiar. If they change the way the city breathes, it becomes memorable. I also like the emotional direction this could take. A character who understands animals may be forced to understand monsters, and that can create a more layered story than a simple good versus evil fight. The action still matters, of course. Black Torch needs impact, speed, and sharp movement, but the fights will only stay with us if they reveal something about fear, loyalty, or control. The strongest version of this anime would make every battle feel like a negotiation between instinct and responsibility. That is where a modern shonen story can feel fresh without pretending to reinvent everything. There is a danger that it becomes too familiar. A hidden organization, a supernatural partner, and a young fighter are all recognizable pieces, so the anime has to make the emotional bond feel specific. What I want from Black Torch is texture. The smell of rain on city streets, the pressure of unseen spirits, and the feeling that the cat at the center of the story is not just a mascot, but a true turning point. If the adaptation understands that, this can become one of those shows people recommend because it feels sharper than expected, not necessarily bigger than the giants of the season, but more alive than its premise suggests. The anime does not need to explain everything immediately. A little mystery can help, as long as the characters feel grounded enough to carry the strange world around them. For me, Black Torch works if the supernatural danger and the emotional bond keep pushing against each other. The more the hero has to choose between power and empathy, the stronger the story becomes. So my early read is cautiously optimistic. This could be a stylish action title, but the real prize is a shonen story where kindness becomes dangerous and instinct becomes a burden. That is why Black Torch belongs in this selection. It has enough familiar energy to attract action fans, but enough unusual emotional material to become more than a routine battle anime. Jaadugar interests me because it does not look like a story where strength solves everything. Its strongest weapon seems to be knowledge, and that immediately changes the rhythm of the conflict. A historical setting can be risky, but it also gives the anime a rare advantage. The world does not need to be invented from nothing. It can be discovered through pressure, travel, language, medicine, and fear. The idea of facing empire with learning rather than brute force is powerful. It turns maps, herbs, memory, and observation into tools that can matter as much as swords. This is exactly the kind of anime that may start quietly and then stay in people's minds. Not because it shouts, but because its images and decisions can feel unusually specific. Science SARU's name also raises expectations for movement and visual interpretation. A story about knowledge needs images that make thinking feel dramatic, not static. The most exciting version of Jaadugar would make every piece of information feel dangerous. A plant, a route, a rumor, or a small mistake could change someone's fate. The danger is that the anime becomes too educational in a dry way. Historical detail is valuable, but it has to create tension, not pause the story. If the direction is strong, the step itself can become a character. Open space can feel beautiful, lonely, and terrifying at the same time. I also want the human cost to remain visible. A story about survival should not reduce people to symbols. The pressure of invasion has to be felt in faces and choices. Jaadugar has the kind of premise that rewards patient viewers. It may not deliver instant spectacle, but it can build a deeper kind of suspense. That makes it valuable for a deeper discussion. There is enough here to talk about history, knowledge, adaptation style, and why quieter anime sometimes age better than louder ones. If the anime respects its setting, it can feel different from most seasonal fantasy. It can become a story where intelligence is not a bonus, but the center of survival. The best scenes will probably not be the biggest battles. They may be moments where a character notices something small and saves a life because of it. That is why I see Jaadugar as a serious, quietly powerful title. It asks the audience to care about thought, not only force. If it succeeds, it could become one of those shows people discover late and then wonder why more people were not talking about it from the beginning. Kaiju Girl Caramelise has one of those ideas that sounds silly until you realize how direct the metaphor is. Love becomes too big for the body, so the body turns into a monster. That is funny, but it is also surprisingly honest. Teen emotions often feel oversized, uncontrollable, and visible at the worst possible moment. The kaiju transformation can work as comedy, romance, and anxiety all at once. That combination gives the anime more room than a simple monster gag. What makes the premise strong is that everyone understands embarrassment. The series just turns that familiar feeling into a city-sized disaster. If the anime respects the heroine's insecurity, the absurdity can become tender. The audience can laugh and still care about what she is going through. The school romance setting also helps. Ordinary places like classrooms, rooftops, and train stations become dangerous because emotion itself can change the scale of the world. The visual promise is huge. Pastel romance and giant monster imagery should not fit together, but that mismatch is exactly what makes the concept memorable. The danger is repetition. If every episode only builds toward the same transformation joke, the idea will lose energy quickly. To last, the story needs emotional progression. The heroine has to change in the way she sees herself, not only in the way her body changes. There is also a strong theme about being seen. Turning into a kaiju is extreme, but the fear underneath is simple. What if my feelings make me impossible to accept? That is where the anime can become more than a funny premise. It can talk about shame, desire, and the terrifying wish to be loved without hiding. The best version of this show would balance chaos with softness. Destruction outside, vulnerability inside. If it finds that balance, Kaiju Girl Caramelise could become a surprisingly warm romance under all the monster comedy. I would watch it for the emotional honesty beneath the ridiculous image. A giant shadow can still come from a very small fear. That is why this anime deserves attention. It has an instantly readable idea, but the real value is whether it turns that idea into empathy. Smoking behind the supermarket with you stands out because it does not chase spectacle. It looks for meaning in a small place where tired people can finally breathe. The setup is ordinary in the best way. A supermarket, a back alley, a late-night conversation, and the quiet relief of not performing for anyone. Adult romance often works when it understands exhaustion. Not dramatic tragedy, but the slow weight of work, routine, politeness, and loneliness. That is why this anime could feel refreshing. It does not need a grand destiny. It needs two people who become honest in a place nobody else values. The back of the supermarket can become a tiny sanctuary, a place that looks meaningless to the world, but becomes emotionally important to the characters. The visual language matters here. Neon light, rain, cigarette smoke, and silence can say more than exaggerated confession scenes. The risk is that quiet becomes empty. A slow anime still needs rhythm, small changes, and emotional movement. If the writing is sharp, every meeting can reveal a little more about what these characters hide during the day. I like that this story seems interested in ordinary survival. Sometimes the most romantic thing is not a dramatic rescue, but being allowed to rest beside someone. It may not be the loudest title of the season, but it can be the one people return to when they want something human. That kind of appeal is easy to underestimate. Calm stories often grow slowly, through people recommending them with genuine affection. The anime has to protect its atmosphere. Too much forced drama could break the fragile charm that makes the premise work. If it trusts silence, it can create a rare mood. Warm, tired, slightly sad, but comforting. My hope is that the relationship feels earned through small gestures rather than big speeches. That would make Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You one of the most quietly valuable romance titles of the season. Akane-banashi may be the hardest sell on paper, and that is part of why I respect it. It asks us to care about a performance art built from voice, timing, and imagination. Rakugo is visually minimal, but emotionally enormous when it works. One person sits down and creates an entire world without changing the stage. That makes the adaptation challenge fascinating. The anime has to show imagination without betraying the stillness that makes the performance powerful. The story is not simply about revenge or talent. It is about discipline, inheritance, pride, and the painful process of earning a voice of your own. That kind of ambition can be deeply rewarding. A performance scene can become as tense as a fight if the direction understands rhythm. The audience needs to feel the room, the silence before a line, the shift of posture, the breath before a character changes voice. All of that matters. Akane-banashi also has a rare subject. Anime often celebrates combat, magic, or sports, but here the battlefield is storytelling itself. That gives the series a special identity. A joke can become a duel, a pause can become a wound, and a story can become a challenge. The risk is distance. If viewers feel Rakugo is only being explained to them, the emotional charge may weaken. But if the anime makes us feel the performance from inside the performer, it can become unforgettable. This is where the visual direction has to be brave. It should not over-decorate every scene, but it must know when to let imagination bloom. The best moments may come when the audience inside the anime disappears, and we are pulled into the story being told. That is the promise of Akane-banashi, a voice becoming a landscape, a memory becoming a weapon, and tradition becoming something alive. I am watching this one for craft, not because it is the easiest title to sell, but because it might be the one with the deepest artistic reward. If it succeeds, Akane-banashi can remind viewers that a quiet stage can strike harder than a battlefield,